All right, here we go. My name's Jeff K, and you're listening to episode 274 of the world-famous West Virginia Surf Report podcast.
Hello, world.
And we're back broadcasting once again from deep underneath a nondescript home in suburban Pennsylvania. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening and all that jazz. I certainly appreciate it. As I record this, I'm home alone. Ultra rare, never happens. You know, there's people here all the time and awake, I might add. Not just here, but awake round the clock. You know what I'm saying? So this is rare. The only downside is I was down here a few minutes ago listening to a Velvet Underground album. All right, in case you're keeping track, is the VU album, the Lost album, that was recorded in, I don't know, the late 60s, I guess, maybe 70, I don't know. And then it wasn't released until like mid-80s, mid to late 80s. The Lost Velvet Underground album called VU. Anyway, I was listening to that, and I thought for sure there was somebody upstairs walking around, and I don't know why that happens. It sounded, very much like somebody was in the house. I'm like, who in the hell is this? Everybody's working. Everybody's at work. Why would... So I'm like, all right, here we go. So I went up there. Nobody. Of course, there's nobody here. I don't know. Why does this happen? But anyway, that's what's going on. There's nobody here. The downside is I didn't get up until 11 a.m. I slept till 11 a.m. Somebody called me last night from work at 1 in the morning. I was tired. Yesterday I was dragging massive ass all day. I don't get enough sleep ever, but yesterday it was catching up to me. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. I was watching an episode of Perry Mason from season 5. Episode 10, I think. Again, if you want to keep this, jot this stuff down in your notebook. But I was down here in the bunker, and watching my nightly episode of Perry Mason. I should have been in bed. This is what I do. I should be in bed sleeping, but I fight it and watch Perry Mason instead or whatever. Not always Perry Mason, but it's like I don't want to go to bed. I don't know. It's some kind of sickness. So he called me, and I was talking to him, and he was probably like, this guy's smashed or something. He's drunk. I wasn't drunk. But I was like, yeah, well, do the best you can. I don't know. He's at the beginning of his work day, right? He goes in at like 12:30 a.m., right? And works throughout the night. And I'm like hanging by a thread at 1 a.m. Yeah, well, just do the best you can. I don't know. Every day's an adventure. Guy's probably like, what the? This guy's a drunk or something? He probably told everybody when he got off the phone. I think Jeff's drunk. I'm not drunk. I'm tired. I need to go to bed. Fighting it. Just fighting it with yet another episode of Perry Mason. I don't know where he got that. Later in season 5, he got this pretty boy. This guy who's like an up-and-coming lawyer. That's like his assistant or something. He always had Paul, Paul Drake, his, private investigator who helps him out with stuff. Now he's got this pretty boy. The guy has no personality. What the? Anyway, I don't want to do a deep dive on the Perry Mason from, the 60s, But anyway, so that happened last night. I was like, yeah, well, every day, he's got to go in there and do his best. I don't know. Every day's full of challenges, like all kinds of cliches. I'm like, whoo, anything else? Jeff's like, I think Jeff's been, had a few beverages. Now, also when I was coming home from work last night, I went by the Krispy Kreme. And it was all lit up. It's supposed to be 24 hours. I don't think that's true. Because I often drive by there and it's all dark. But last night it was all lit up. I thought, hey, this is Wednesday, right? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get a dozen donuts. Because on Wednesdays, I get these emails from them. They always have these promotions running. On Wednesdays, you can get a dozen glazed donuts for the price of 1 gallon, the average price of 1 gallon of gas, you know? So, and every Wednesday it's a different number, because whatever the average U.S. price of 1 gallon of gas is, that's how much you can get a dozen. So I went through there. I said, hey, I want that gas deal. I went through the drive-thru. Guy's like, all right, pull on up. Pull up to the second window. So it was $4.86. $4.86. A dozen delicious glazed Krispy Kremes. And, by the way, whenever somebody writes that in an email or something, they always spell it wrong. Does anybody look at the sign? Does anybody ever look at the box and take note of the way they spell that? Why can't anybody, anywhere, type it the right way? Anyway, that's just a little aside. But anyway, $4.86 for a dozen. It was like at midnight last night. I think they close at midnight. I don't know. It says on their website and on the app and whatever on Google, it's open 24 hours a day. I have a feeling they close at midnight. I don't know. Anyway, $4.86. I came home and I powered through 3 of them, just one after the other, just a daisy chain. They were connected. I think I was still chewing as I added the second. I was still chewing the first donut as I introduced the first bite of the second donut. It was just a nonstop. It was just a daisy chain. You know what I'm saying? Of glazed donuts, 3 of them, just one after the next. And then when I got up this morning, I had another one. So I've had 4 of them already. And it looked like somebody, I don't know who, had plundered the thing too. So that's good. That's fine. I don't want all of them. I mean, I can't eat 12. I could. I shouldn't, is what I'm saying. Somebody else had plundered the box before I got out of bed. All right. Maybe it's that guy that's upstairs walking around. I don't know. Somebody up there walking around, I think, are probably eating my donuts. Just thought of that. Damn it. Getting irritated. All right, so I'm going to briefly tell you about the Paul McCartney show on Saturday. So I was a little bit spooked, and I was like, what time should we leave, right? Because I don't want to get caught up in some kind of Winston-Salem-style cluster of traffic and gridlock, because there were people that had all kinds of trouble at the Winston-Salem show, apparently. We talked about that on the when I had Jim Workman on a couple episodes back about that. He went to that show, and he said he had no issues, but there were these people on the internet and newspapers and stuff saying that my 35th wedding anniversary was ruined because the Winston-Salem Police Department could not manage the traffic and, all this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to get caught up in some kind of bullshit like that, especially after I made fun of these people in Winston-Salem. I can't have that. I already mocked these people and called them stupid, or implied it at least, and now I don't want to get caught up in it. So we left at 3 o'clock. It's a 2-hour drive, almost exactly. It says 1:57 on Google. So it's a 2-hour drive. And the gates to the auditorium, to the Carrier Dome, open at 6, and the show starts promptly at 8. That's what it said. So I thought, well, if we leave at 3, get there at 5, it's still an hour before the gates open, and it's 3 hours before the show starts. That should be plenty, right? Then I started thinking, I don't know, maybe we should leave earlier. I don't want to get caught up in a gridlock. I don't know. I don't want to be controversial, but I don't care for gridlock. But anyway, so we left. Steve drove because he has one of those big ass SUVs, so basically like a bus, So there's 5 of us. He volunteered to drive. He came up here. He was here at 3 o'clock, and we just immediately left. We immediately left, and we drove up straight up 81. It's an easy drive. And we get there at 5 o'clock, and we drive into Syracuse. We head over to to the campus where the dome is. And I mean, it's not even. I mean, it just feels like a normal day. It's not like there's a big crush of people. We find a parking garage not far. We park in there. It costs $30, which is a lot, but that's pretty much what you expect, right? We parked. We walked over to the venue. I mean, there was a bunch of people milling about out there. They hadn't opened the gates yet. At this point, it's probably like, I don't know, 5:15, somewhere in that neighborhood. So 45 minutes before the gates. And they had all these souvenir stands. There's people around. There's a bunch of people standing around. Big ass line at the souvenir stand, the one near the gate that we were going to go in. And we were looking. We walked up there and just taking a look and seeing what they had. And Steve goes, "You see anything that interests you?" And I said, "Not really." I said, "I'm not buying a T-shirt. I'm in my late 50s. Not buying a tour T-shirt. I don't need a frickin' Paul McCartney Afghan, I don't need that. And I don't know, I don't need one of those stupid hats. I don't know." I said, "Not really." I said, "The only thing that would interest me is that tour poster, which is kind of cool. It looked like some kind of artist. It's artistic. It wasn't just some generic thing." I said, "I wouldn't," and it had all the tour dates at the bottom of it. It was like, it wasn't specific for Syracuse. It was for the whole tour. I said, "That's pretty cool, but I'm A, not waiting in that massive line, and B, I'm not paying $30 for it, for a poster, like a small poster." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I'm going to buy some stuff. So he goes, "In fact, I'm going to buy your boys a shirt each." I said, "You don't have to do that." He goes, "Nah, I don't buy them anything for their birthdays and stuff. I feel kind of guilty about that." I said, "Oh, whatever." I said, "You don't have to. Don't feel obligated." He goes, "I don't feel obligated." So they got in line, the three of them, because he was going to allow them to pick a shirt out, and he was going to buy some stuff too. And Toney and I just kind of like, stood aside and people watching and stuff. It was a beautiful day. Oh my God, it was perfect. And there was a lot of people around. And just like Jim said in that previous episode, we felt like we were young whippersnappers, Compared to this crew that was out there, man, we were like younglings, Just babes, just so young. I just felt so young. And, there's people with canes and shit, just real. It was an old crew, an old group. I remember wanting to see Steely Dan. I went to see Steely Dan with Steve one time a few years ago. And it was at Montage up here in Scranton, amphitheater. And I went, we were like, again, it felt like we were by far the youngest people in the whole place. Everybody was like broken down and old. There's bald spot. Everybody's bald, and I'm not just talking about the men. And and I went to the beer stand, and I said, "I bet you're not carding too many people tonight, are you?" And the woman's just looking at me like, whatever. What are you talking about, old man? But anyway, it felt so. We were just people watching and stuff. And then they bought Steve came, it took, I don't know, it probably took 45 minutes, an hour. The gates were open by the time they got through that line. And Steve goes, "I bought you a poster." I said, "Why? Why? You don't need to buy me shit, He goes, "No, I'm just, you said you were interested in it." I said, "Well, I was, but you don't have to buy it for me." So that was nice. He's nice. He's a nice guy. But, and he bought the boys a T-shirt each. So... he's nice. He's a nice guy. So we got in. We went through the gates. We entered, and Steve set off the alarm. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know, but they had to wand him down. I don't know, patted him down and stuff. So then we went inside, and we went down. We found our seats. I bashed my knee against the back of the frickin'. Oh my God. We were heading down to our seats, down these stairs. It's got these metal, like, bleacher seats. It's a football stadium, You're heading down. There's metal bleacher seats. I banged my knee against the back of one of those bleacher seats, and the worst pain, perhaps the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. That shit hurt so bad, and it was sustained. It would not fade. I was like, oh my God. I mean, it hurt. Oh my God. Just the worst. So we finally get to the seat, and I'm like in great pain. The thing will not fade away. You know, if you stub your toe, it kind of fades fast. Not this. This shit hung on. It was a sustained hurting, as I mentioned last time. All right. And Steve's like, you know, they were out of those programs. I'd really like to go get a program, you know. I said, I said, you're going to get in another one of those lines? Because they had these souvenir stands all over, you know, all over the place. It's not, so if they were out of something at one of them, you can go to another one. So I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I want one of those programs. He goes, you want to go with me? I said, not really. Tony goes, why don't you go out there and get a couple beers, and Steve can get his thing, his program. And I said, all right. I'm not irritated because, I banged my knee. I was in pain. He's going to get in another line. And so we go out there, queue up behind, in one of those lines. We get up there, and I said, what if we get up there and don't even have them? You know, what if they don't have them? Because I couldn't, okay. I wanted to buy 2 beers each. You're limited to 2. So I was going to have Steve. Steve said he didn't want any because he's driving. I said, yeah, 6 hours. He goes, I don't want any. I said, all right. So I could not go to the beer line while Steve was in the souvenir line. We had to do both. We had to both of them. He had to go with me to the beer line. You know what I'm saying? So we're in line waiting for the program. I said, what if we get up there and don't have them? Just like the place outside. He goes, yeah, I thought about that. So I'm like, oh my God. And everybody's like cutting through. There's like a river of people cutting through. And they're like, excuse me. I'm like, oh my God. It's like hot. I don't know why. Just that part of the stadium was hotter than shit. Humid. I was like, I'm going to punch somebody right in the face. I am like I could just feel it ratcheting up. People cutting through. Excuse me, cutting through. So we get up there. Some guy looked like Larry Tate from Bewitched, cuts line, starts asking the people behind the souvenir, behind the merch table questions. And Steve's like, hey, asshole, out of the way. I was like, what the? Every head whipped around and looked at us. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I shrugged my shoulders like, I don't know what got into him. And so Larry Tate, he's looking at us like, which one of you guys called me an asshole? And they just walked away. There was nothing, didn't escalate. I'm like, what? I said, what is, you call this guy, you yelling at people or what's gotten into you? So anyway, so we get up there and they have it. They have those programs. You know how much a program was? A tour program. Are you ready for this? $50. $50. I said, Darius, no way. That is outside the realm of all possibility as far as I'm concerned. He bought that. She goes, you want anything else? He goes, how much are those hoodies? Or no, he didn't say how much they are because I don't think he cares. He said, do you have any XL on those hoodies? And she said, we certainly do. He goes, I'll take one of those. $100. I'm like, what the? So anyway, so then we get in the beer line. Steve has to buy 2. I have to buy 2. And all they have is like these coolers like at a convenience store. And it's just chock full of 16-ounce beers, cans of beer. All garbage. All of it. It's all like Miller Lite. I don't know if they had Miller Lite, but they definitely had. They had Bud Light. They had Coors Light. They had some kind of Molson Light. And it feels like there's another one. There was a Michelob Ultra. And I mean, it's like a whole like 6 different coolers full of like 5 or 6 different beers. Like each cooler had like the whole thing was just full of one beer. You know what I'm saying? And it was all, Steve goes, which one you want? And I said, it doesn't matter. They all taste exactly the same. There's like literally no difference in any of this, So I said, just get Bud Light. At least I have a little nostalgic connection to that from, the Dunbar days. So we got 4 cans of 16-ounce cans of Bud Light, $10 each. So 4 cans of straight up swill, $40. It's like, what the? $40. You know how much Bud Light $40 would buy at a store? I mean, you'd have a shopping cart full of that crap. All right. So I took it back. We went back to it was hot. It was really hot in there. Out in that causeway, out in that hallway, where all the shops and stuff are. I went back in there. It was cool inside the actual auditorium, and Tony's like, "What?" She goes, "Bud Light? What the hell?" I said, "I don't want to hear it." I said, "All they had was garbage, so I had to choose." It's not like they had like a bunch of craft beers in there. They had nothing. They had nothing. So this is what we had to choose from. All right. So we had 2 each. That's all. So we had 2 beers each, and so then we sat there. We still had a long ways before the show. Some guy came out and did some kind of it was like some kind of DJ type shit. He was spinning records up there, but he wasn't using like the concert speakers. It was like some tinny. Sounded like it was coming out of some kind of tiny little Bluetooth speaker. It's like real tinny, sounded like garbage. He was playing like Beatles / Paul McCartney stuff, like weird stuff like Temporary Secretary. You ever heard that song? Temporary Secretary. You ever heard this shit? So it's like unbelievable. Like, what in the world? What was Paul? That's a Paul McCartney song. Anyway. So he's up there. I don't know what that was about. Okay, and then finally he stopped playing. It sounded like a mosquito in there. Stuff was so tinny. It just sounded like zzz, So he finally departed, and then they started playing this like video type thing. Went on for 30 minutes. It was like sort of like a retrospective. It wasn't video. It was like still pictures, like rolling through, scrolling across on the screens, the big giant screens in there. And it started with pictures of like Paul McCartney when he was like a kid, and it progressed through his entire life, through the Beatles. It started when he's a kid. It was like when he was in the Quarrymen, with John, and and then the Beatles, Beatlemania, go through all that whole thing where they were like Sgt. Pepper, all that stuff, into the 70s. It lasted for 30 minutes. There was music playing during it. There wasn't anybody on the stage. It was really long. Everybody's like, "What the hell? What is it? Why so long?" And then finally, after that scrolling of photographs, the show started. Paul comes out, and he's got his violin bass, same, I don't know if it's the exact same one, same style as he's played since before Beatlemania, and he launched straight into Can't Buy Me Love, old Beatles song. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. The same thing happened to me when I saw the Stones. I don't remember what song they started with, but it was one of their big ones. And it's like, oh my God, there's something like primal that happens inside of you. It's like, this is like these guys are like straight up legends, and you're seeing the actual person who wrote this song and sang this song. It's like part of the fabric of humanity, It's like, I don't know, some kind of reaction. I felt like I almost had a lump in my throat. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's like almost it's emotional, Not that I was standing there sobbing or anything. Don't get carried away. But I felt like, oh my God, this is Paul McCartney singing this old Beatles song right here in front of me. He wrote this song. He sang this song. So that it was cool. He played for a long time. Played a bunch of Wings stuff, which is fun. That 70s. He was great in the 70s. He was terrible in the 80s. That's my opinion. I mean, the Beatles were awesome all the way through. They were only around in the 60s. And Paul solo, when he was with Wings, was great, I think, in the 70s. I mean, he wasn't as consistent as he was with the Beatles, but in the 70s, he was still very interesting, and he was still rocking a little bit. By the time he gets to the 80s, I have this theory that a lot of those older, established rock stars, something happened to them in the 80s, and I think it had something to do with punk rock, new wave, and MTV. I think that freaked those guys out, and I'm talking about Paul McCartney, Elton John, Rod Stewart, people like that, Neil Young, I think all those guys were intimidated, felt like they were being left behind, they were rendered irrelevant by this upheaval in the music world, and they started doing stuff that they wouldn't normally do. Trying to fit in, I think. And the 80s was a bad period for Paul McCartney, in my opinion. All right, but he did a lot of 70s stuff, and he did it for he did some new stuff which I wasn't as familiar with. Although I did listen to a playlist on Spotify somebody put together of his, the songs that he played on the tour. So I listened to it and listened to the new songs that he, newish songs that he played. So I familiarized myself a little bit in advance. So at least most of them were upbeat, the new songs. There's one song he did called My Valentine that was dragging a little bit. And he said it was a tribute to his wife Nancy. I don't know. That one was probably my least favorite song from the show. But while he was singing it, he had, for reasons unknown, he had Johnny Depp on the big screen and Natalie Portman. Johnny Depp on the left screen, Natalie Portman on the right screen, signing, for the deaf or for the hearing impaired. What is the point? I don't understand. But anyway, the show was fun. It was full of Beatles songs. It was full of Wings, Paul McCartney and Wings song. There were sing-alongs. I mean, when he did Hey Jude at the end, right before he left, and then he came back for an encore. But at the end of his main set, he launched into Hey Jude. The whole place was singing, everybody. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. He did Live and Let Die, which with all kinds of pyrotechnics. There's like fire shooting out of the floor, bombs going off, and all this stuff. He did a Quarrymen song that he wrote in 1958 or something. 1958. He was like 16 or something, 15 maybe. It was a song that he wrote, and the Quarrymen, which was John, Paul, George, and two other guys that I didn't recognize their names. That was kind of interesting. I mean, it was fun. And he did a duet, and I put that in air quotes, with John Lennon, where they had John's vocals like stripped out of something so they could sing together, that kind of thing. It was fun. It was a blast. The guy's a pro, of course, It was fun. It was a great show. It was long. He played a lot. According to Setlist FM, he played 36 songs. It's a lot of songs. And he played probably for 2 hours, 45 minutes. It was a blast. Everybody had a great time. So, he was funny and he was moving around and it was good. I can't say enough good things about it. It was great. I'm thankful I got to see him. Big Beatles fan, of course. And it was a blast. The only downside, we got stuck in that parking garage on our way out. We didn't have any trouble getting there, but when we got in that parking garage trying to leave, nothing. There was like nothing happening, baby. I mean, it was just stopped. It was like solid. There's like no moving parts, So we're just sitting there waiting, and we didn't get home till like 3 o'clock in the morning, long day. But and then Toney had to get up and go to Philly the next morning. And then Steve had to drive another hour and a half past here. He didn't get home till 4:20, he said. So, we got stuck in that stupid parking garage. And that was the only bummer. But other than that, it went smoothly. The weather was perfect. The show was great. The guy's still entertaining as hell. And it was expensive, but I have no regrets, as they say. So let's see, I had some no, I think I covered it. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. This weekend, Tony's going again. I said, what? And I said, what are you doing? Why are you always gone? She goes, I'm not doing it on purpose. I got stuff I have to go. So she's going to go meet her sister down in, I don't know, North/South Carolina, one of them. She goes, I go see her once a summer. I'm like, you do? I don't know. So anyway, she's going down there on Saturday evening to see her, and so I'm going to be here all weekend. Both boys are off. Neither one of them work. I'm like, what? What am I going? She goes, why don't you go to that? Woodstock Museum up in New York? I said, well, maybe. I said, I don't know. I said, how much does it cost to get into that thing? So I looked it up. You know how much it cost to get in? $19.69. Cost $19.69 to get in. So I said, that's a possibility. I said, I've kind of wanted to go to that, and I think both of them would be into it, and I think the older boy would especially be into it. You can't predict the younger boy. It depends on his mood. He might say, yeah, I'd love to go, or he might say, why in the world would I sit in a car for an hour and a half each way to look at a picture of David Crosby? I mean, it could go either way. Well, either one of those scenarios could definitely be. The older boy would be really into it. He loves that kind of stuff. So we might do that. I don't know. It's only an hour and a half from here. And I've talked to people that have gone to that thing and they loved it. I'm thinking about maybe doing that on Sunday. I don't know. I said, don't mention it to them. I said, let me decide. I don't want to be locked into this shit, and then on Sunday I don't want to do it, and then I'm forced to do it. She goes, I'm not going to say anything. I said, all right, so that's a possibility. I don't know if we're going to do it or not. But it's going to be a weekend, and she's not going to be around, and both of them, the three of us are going to be here. I don't know. We'll see. That's fine. We'll figure out something. And we did add, when I was bitching about her, I said, I said, we don't have any trips scheduled until October. So we went on that Florida trip way too early. Now we got nothing, the whole summer we got nothing planned except you go off every weekend and do something without me. She goes, I'll quit your bitching or something. I don't know, something along those lines. Quit your whining. She goes, these are things I have to do. These are these are wedding showers and stuff like this. She goes, I'm not, and she was like doing dog sitting and stuff. I said, all I know is I work all week. I look forward to, having some time together on the weekends, and you're not here. I said, that's what it boils down to as far as I'm concerned. She goes, well, I'm not doing it on purpose. These are obligations I have, So we're sort of in some kind of a, argument. She goes, why don't we go to a couple of Reds games? She goes, that would cost us probably over $1,000. I said, wow. She goes, well, you have to spend the gas to get over there. 2 nights at a hotel, which is, she looked it up, it's like $169. That's on the other side of the river. That's over in Kentucky. And the tickets, she goes, I don't want to just buy regular tickets. If we're going to do this, I want to get one of those club seats. And, where you have access to the unlimited food and all that stuff. She goes, if we're going to do it, I want to do it. I want to turn it into a party. I said, I'm all for that. So I looked those tickets up. They're $118. Well, there's different levels. The one we were looking at, it's called the Bally Sports Club, $118 each. And it doesn't give you, it gives you access to a bunch of food and stuff and an air-conditioned, room where you can go if it's frickin' hot and humid. You can go in there. They have the game on the big screens, and they have all kinds of, food that's included. And it doesn't include any kind of alcoholic beverages, but, everything else. And it'd be fun. That'd be fun. And the seats are right behind home plate. I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to do the 118 Bally Sports, 2 nights. So anyway, you add it all up, it ends up being like, I don't know, over $1,000 for all this stuff, just for a quickie getaway. It's unbelievable. She said, but we do. You're right. We do need to do something, and so we're going to do that. I think, I don't think we can go when that tennis tournament's over there. That's not going to work out for us, but we're going to go see the Cardinals two nights, on a Monday and a Tuesday, I think. On Tuesday, we might not have to do the Bally thing. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But they have this thing on Tuesday nights at the stadium. It's called the 3-2-1 deal. All right, you hip to this? $3 Budweisers. Here we go again with the Budweisers. $3 Budweisers, $2 hot dogs, $1 bowls of ice cream. So maybe we could just do the Bally Sports on Monday and do that 3-2-1 deal on Tuesday. Buy some good seats down close, I don't know. We'll see. But I think we're going to do that. We need to inject another trip into our summer. And I think I'm going to go try to see my parents maybe in July. I got to get down there. At least one time. I was shooting for 2. But I think I'm going to pencil in a few days in July to go down and see my folks. And that'll be that. And in early October, we'll go to Myrtle Beach. And that'll be fun. Always a blast. And I think we're at the end of this thing. I want to give you like a brief overview of the Paul McCartney show. It was fantastic. I recommend it if you have an opportunity to see him. He's old. He's 79. His voice is different. It's lower, much lower than it used to be. But he's good. It's not like he can't sing. It's just there's a different timbre to his voice. And he still moves around. He's in great shape. I hope to be in that good a shape when I'm 79. Seriously doubt it, but he's doing well. He has a great band, of course. He wouldn't play with hacks, So anyway, highly recommended. Blast. It was great. It's one of those legends, I feel like that last Tom Petty show fit in that category too. I'd seen him before back in Atlanta, but that last one, that was just he died 4 months later. Tom Petty, like 4 months after we saw him. I felt like that was also fit into the same category. It was just one hit after another. It was like a celebration of his career, and then he was gone. And then that Stones show, same thing, great. Just hit after hit after hit. Just they're same age as McCartney. And then the Paul show, great. I've seen some legends. I wish I'd have seen them in their prime, but you got to do what you got to do. I did see Petty years ago in Atlanta at the Lakewood Amphitheater. That was great. Anyway, we're at the end of this thing. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I have a couple of calls. They're going to be so old. I forgot. I'm sorry. That's my fault. I needed to add that. You know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to do I'm going to make the Patreon episode this week. I'm going to make it available to everyone, we'll play those calls and go over some other things as well. So that's what I'll do. So there'll be an extra episode this week for everyone, and you'll get a sample of what the Patreon episodes sound like. Very much like these, but that's how I'll do that. All right, sorry about that. I slipped my mind. But if you do want to get an extra episode every week, so two episodes a week instead of a measly one, it's easy to do. Head on over to patreon.com. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Jeff K. Sign up for a $4 or more. $4 will do it. But you can pledge more if you want to. and you'll get an extra episode of this podcast every week. Not every once in a while, not every month. That's for suckers. Every week, $4. Put it on a credit card, nobody will notice that. You won't notice $4. And you'll reap rewards. You know what I'm saying? The rewards of an extra episode of this ludicrous podcast every week. All right, anyway, if you want to do that, patreon.com/JeffK. And if you want to check out the expanded show notes with extra links and photographs, it's a value-added service for fans of the podcast. That's at surfreportpod.com. You can check that out. That's also 24 hours a day. Wait a minute. And also, if you want to call in and be a part of a show, like those folks that I will be sharing their calls on the next episode, you can do that. 570-290-8151 is the number. That's 570-290-8151. Man, I'm struggling. I keep having to put this thing on pause because I don't know what's going on with my voice. But anyway, you can call round the clock anytime you wanna. It's voice. It's called Google Voice, and you just call, leave a message, and I'll have an MP3 of it, and I'll include it in a future show. So it's a great way to be a part of the show, and I encourage you to do so. There's other stuff. It's all listed at surfreportpod.com. So check it out at your leisure. And until next time, you guys have yourselves a fine, fine day. I will see you. Bye. Temporary secretary. You ever heard this shit?